welcome to the Chronicles of Captain What. I am Matthew Smith, a master of all pixelated knowledge and pioneer of translation of mediums. As per usual, I am joined by my devoted student, Andy Barley. Today's topic will be Invocations! Oh, that's a good word. Right, so what the fuck am I talking about? So, to invoke something, as far as I'm aware, the actual definition is to summon forth, call forth, bring about, make reality something. Make a something into a nothing into a something, or a concept into a thing. Right? So, we can invoke, the most simple thing we think of is when we remember something and we remember how we felt at the time, and then all of a sudden that emotion or however we felt is replicated in our current scenario, kind of thing. You know, you might have no reason to be mad, but when you think back at what made you mad, boy's gonna get mad. That kind of thing's gonna play out as it should, because you can't necessarily have complete control over all of that in the same way that it can't ever completely control you. You can act out of character because of unwarranted anger. You can act out of character with unwarranted kindness. All of these things, all of these emotional drives and so on and so forth, fundamentally change how you behave. They change what you're trying to be, what you are, and what the reality actually is. You know, it's all a bit more complicated than that. But then you take it onto a more everyday level when you realise that there's a lot more to invoking things than you're kind of used to. You know, people do the lottery every week. They spend monies getting them tickets with the hope that maybe, just maybe, millionaires. But what are you invoking? Are you trying to bring about good fortune? Are you trying to bring about a justification of a habit? Are you trying to bring about the whole being part of something? You know, different people have different reasons for doing those sort of things, but those habits are based on being habits. They're repeatable. They're the kind of thing you do again and again and again. I know if I get angry, I say stupid shit, and I then have to go, I'm really sorry, I was a dickhead, I didn't mean it, but can we be friends again? And then, you know, sometimes people forgive me, sometimes they don't. Kind of depends what you do. Does it mean that I can then go, oh, next time I'll get more angry and I'll use my anger to do angry things, and then it'll work out, and no, there's bullshit. It's nonsense. I'd be trying to invoke less anger because it wouldn't be relevant to the situation. So I'd have to train myself to resist that, to not get caught up in it. Basic habits, you know, maybe you sit down to wee or something, or you like to smell a candle while you poo, or whatever it is, you know, whatever strange rituals you might have as part of your day-to-day are all entirely invoked. You're trying to make something that wouldn't normally be there. Trying to bring something about that wouldn't normally be there. Even when it comes to superstitions, you know, if I'm told, don't step on a crack, break your mother's back, well, I ain't fucking stepping on a crack, am I? I'm shitting my britches. I'm going, uh-oh, is that, what? Really? And then I might do it by accident one day, and it'd be consequence-free. And be like, oh, phew. But that fear of it happening was still there. The behaviour of me trying to avoid stepping on a crack is still there. The everyday terror of, you know, my mum having a broken back was still there. Even when there's no fundamental evidence for any of it, I still believed it. And that belief is very powerful. Very strong power. Strong with a K, you know, for all them pros out there. So, if we then are superstitious about things, and I've said, you know, stepping on cracks, breaking backs, that kind of things, don't want to step on a crack as a result, is it possible that other superstitions can influence how I act? is it possible that when I'm angry, or when I'm tired, or when I'm frustrated, or from an emotional perspective, that I'm going to act the same in each of those instances? No, they're all going to be different. They're all going to be slightly altered, because I'm going to have that filter on for whatever information's being processed or anything else. So it's going to be already biased from the start. If I were to take that further and try and do everyday rituals, or do basic, I'm trying to think of the best examples, I wash my hands every time I go to the loo kind of thing, because that's what I was taught, it's hygienic, so I enforce it and I persist it. Does it mean that I'm suddenly lost and I might have this warped view of something? Or no. Does it affect anyone in any way? Not really. It's my own beliefs, my own superstitions influencing my own actions. So it's quite personal in that sense. So we then have to ask ourselves, if all of these invocations are things that have uses, are there, one of two truths is true. Either they're useful to us and they can be put to use in such a way that has a benefit, or we should shed them and be gone with them as debilitations. We've seen both answers in society. We've seen many people argue both sides. It's a fun argument. I recommend listening once in a while. But then, one step further than that, what's the difference between a ritual and a habit? If I do something repeatedly under a set of scenarios, is there a difference between me doing something else repeatedly under a different set of scenarios or with different parameters? The repeated action is the important part, the reinforcing of the message, the carrying on of that invocation, trying to spread it, trying to make it more. If I'm particularly in awe of religion one day and I decide that, you know what, there must be a higher being, there must be, it's impossible not to. I'm not trying to tell you God exists, I'm not trying to tell you God doesn't exist, I'm trying to tell you I got a motherfucking feeling in my gut and I don't know why, and I'd like to discuss it. I'd like very much to discuss it. So my friend, with all of this nonsensical art popping out of my face, there is quite a bit. No, not the mustache, the rest of it. How do we then go about using these to our benefit as society? How does emotion play in to society, to the bigger picture?
Okay, so a lot of what you spoke about there leads to esoteric...
Oh, I can see that excitement, baby. Go on! Go on!
Leads to esoteric thinking and a lot of what can be consumed by occultism, which is kind of one of my areas of expertise, because I am an occultist.
So does that mean that you're a cultist with an O on the front?
Yes.
Fair enough.
I'm not a member of a cult.
Nah.
I am an occultist.
The occult.
Yeah, which means hidden.
Well, I mean, it's kind of just the other side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the study of hidden knowledge, basically. For people who, I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you've listened to...
Hidden knowledge. Because you wouldn't know if it was hidden.
Until you find it.
But then it wouldn't be hidden knowledge.
No, of course not. No.
So it's either hidden or it's not.
Well, that's the thing. It exists until you find it. It still exists.
No,
Everything
like
exists.
Like
but yeah.
I'm being a bit of a dick. I don't
It's great. I love it. But yeah, so I can talk about this shit for fucking months.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying one of the things that you asked about the difference between a ritual and a habit.
Mm-hmm. I think they're the same thing. I think it's just calling it something different, depending on what makes it feel more of a thing.
Okay, so when it comes to chaos magic, which is what I practice, as well as a little bit on the left-hand side.
That, or you could argue that one is voluntary and one is involuntary.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
A habit is something that you do without meaning
Unconsciously.
to. Yeah. Where a ritual is something you choose to do every day. Like every day I have my habits.
Everyone does.
For
If
example,
you don't, you're weird.
Yeah, for example, when I one habit that I know, and every day I laugh at the fact that I do this. My hair. Okay, so I have a mohawk.
He does.
When I comb it or brush it, I brush back, and then I brush to the left. Oh shit! And then I smack the microphone. So yeah, I brush it back, and then I brush it to the left, and then I brush it to the right, and then I brush it back again every day. Without there's no reason behind that. That's just how I do it.
I mean, it's a pretty smooth movement. You wouldn't have to sit there going, shit, what direction came after back?
And it's
Bollocks!
Every time. And I've even experimented with this where I was like, okay, so I'm going to brush it in a different way today. But no, I always do it the same way, every single time.
Yeah.
And I also have rituals that I do every day, that I choose to do every day.
Such as?
If you want an example, talismans. I wear talismans every day.
That's fair.
And I have, so example, this ring is one of my talisman. This ear piercing is one of my talisman.
Warding off something, making things.
No, it just gives them, they do different. I'm not going to go into what they do for me, but they do different things. They have different purposes.
What I mean is, it's not necessarily. I mean, we're not talking about things being what they're not. We're talking about what people believe they are, what they. You know what I mean? For example, if ever I'm sitting there at 2:07 in the morning. Oh, it's about 2:30 actually. I play a mobile game called Docker Battle, and I've played it for about 1,000 days, 1,300, about 3 years, 4 days. I know every day because it tells me. But that habit of logging in, checking the news, seeing what I can do, maybe banging out the missions or whatnot, I do it every day, and it's reinforced. I don't think about doing it. I don't go, oh, that'd be a great idea at 2:30 in the morning. No, I just do it, you know?
Yeah.
Same with if I go and take a poo, I take my phone with me because I'm probably going to do the same sort of thing.
So for me, from an occult or esoteric point of view, that's more of a habit, and that's something that probably started as a ritual but became a habit.
It did, yeah. I had to remember to log in every day so I didn't lose that tasty bonus.
Yeah, and now you don't have to remember, you just do it.
Yeah. I mean, is that good or is that bad? Who knows? But no, I know what you mean. Having that distinction is quite important. I mean, when you think about taking it a step further and looking at rituals actually in reality that people do every day that aren't necessarily something people intend to do, but they are, you get people that play the lottery with the same numbers every week. You know what I mean? That's a bit of a ritual. Each of those numbers will mean something, will have some kind of sentimental value or some kind of significance to that individual, and that's why they're repeated however long for however long. The habit part of doing it every week is just part of the ritual. You still have to have the numbers. If I go get a lucky dip every week, it ain't a ritual because I ain't putting any thought into it. There's no brain power from me going, oh, actually, I don't like those numbers. They don't feel lucky. That kind. No, that's not how it works. I either have a ritual or I don't.
Yeah.
And I can have a habit, but it not be a ritual. I like that. I like that distinction.
Yeah. That's it. And when it comes to another sort of ritual that I do every day is called focusing, which kind of comes into the idea of invocations.
Yeah. I like that. That is the topic of today.
So a focusing ritual, there's so many different ones, but the one that I do every single day is a form of meditation. Okay, so it's basically I'll be sat on the floor where your mic stand is right now, in front of my altar, because I have a black altar.
It's very pleasant. Don't be afraid.
Great, I love it. And especially the ship in the bottle decanter.
Yeah,
that was my granddad's. It's amazing.
That's a shiny shit.
It's great, isn't it? It's only got water in it at the minute because I've been doing some natural rituals which need water.
Fair. I mean, that's logical. I would have also said, is it going to rust in water? Is it going to oxidize?
No, it's glass.
Oh, it's glass.
Yeah, it's all glass. No, it's coloured glass.
That's cool.
Painted glass is fucking great. I love it. It's such a beautiful
Legit
thing.
thought it was
Such a
copper or
beautiful
some
piece.
other shiny metal.
It's just beautiful. I love it. I've always liked that. Always, since I was a kid.
Oh, that's very
And now
good.
it's mine. But yeah, so focusing ritual, basically I do this in the evening. I know somebody else who does one, it does the same thing that I do, but they do it in the morning. And it's basically, it's a way to find out what comes next.
That's fair.
It's a way to make a plan. So
Like a self-consultation.
through doing this ritual, I have come up with, I've got a notepad up here, which has got so many different ideas for different podcasts, different blogs, different videos, episodes, lots of different things that I am going to do and that I want to do. And that's all come from this Sorry, the wine's coming back.
It's good. It's good.
It all comes from this focusing ritual. And I've got songs that I've started writing, all coming from this focusing ritual I do every night.
I mean, I'm not one for. I've definitely got rituals per se, but they're not daily rituals kind of thing. It's more so every time I would have to do something, I would do it in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, if ever I have to clean my room and do my wash, and I'm going full ham, and I'm gonna gut it and clean it and do everything properly, and then probably not do it for 6 months. You know what I mean? It's not a ritual in the terms of consistency, but it kind of is over an even longer period of time. If I were to think about, you know, what I had when I was at school, where I'd have to come home and I'd have to do my homework, or I'd take it back to school and things like that, it doesn't necessarily mean much to me, but I still have to want to do it, don't I?
Yeah, of course.
I still have to want to go, fine, I'll give up my time to do maths. 2 plus 2 equals fuck this. You know? None of that. Or you just whack it out really quickly, or so, but you still make the time for it. It's still a different thing. I think expanding on that, having the consistency of it it's important, but it's not a fundamental. You know? Time is quite relative, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, of course it is.
It could be
well,
anything. You might have, like you were saying to me earlier about the jobs and the guy looking in the mirror going, "You got this, bro."
That's a ritual.
Everyone's got some
That's
kind
magic.
of a pre-interview ritual, whether they like it or not.
That's magic.
You have to sit there and go, "Oh, how do I want to be perceived? What kind of clothes should I wear? Is my CV how I would like it to be read?"
Exactly it.
All of that.
Yeah, that little ritual, looking in the mirror going, "You've got this, you're a tiger."
Yeah, boy!
Yeah, that's magic. That's a magic ritual.
Yeah,
it's also self-affirmation, which is a psychological form of chaos magic, I believe, is...
We're invoking a love for yourself, like a confidence.
That's it, exactly.
A belief in your own self to do.
Magic isn't always spiritual.
I don't think magic is always magic.
And when like, especially magicians, I don't actually like the term magician, but practitioners like myself, when I use the term energy, I'm not always talking about mystical, spiritual energy. It could be anything. Yeah. You know, rub your hands together for 20 seconds.
Energy.
What do you feel? You feel hot. That's an energy. Heat is an energy.
I mean, the ones we know of in science, you've got heat, light, kinetic energy, which is like motion, friction, and that kind of thing.
Can all use. So I'll do a quick rundown before we actually, because we're like halfway through. But I'll do a quick rundown of this is a really quick way of creating a talisman. Okay, so you've got an item. So, for example, this ring is my talisman. It's one of my talismans.
I think my phone is a talisman of mine.
So
I wouldn't go without it.
If you were going to
ordered correctly,
exactly,
me, you know?
That's it. So if you're going to, the quickest way of creating a talisman, if you were going to do a magical ritual to create a talisman, so you have it in front of you. Okay, you have a word which is a word of power. So something that you want this to represent. You need help. That's just why you're creating the talisman. You need this item to help you with something. So let's say confidence. Okay, so what you do is you have it in front of you, you rub your hands together until they get really, really, really hot, and then you hold that item in your hands, and you close your eyes, and you think of that word of power and you picture that word leaving the way I do it is I picture the word like a living tattoo going from my head all the way down my arms, into my hands, and then onto the ring.
I just imagine how I would feel if a
And
tattoo.
I know somebody else who pictures a fish swimming down her arms.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
And that's how you charge a talisman. And the energy that you are charging with is the heat energy that you create from rubbing your hands together.
Yeah, but
there's loads of ways you can do it, using kinetic energy, using light energy.
I don't think
like
it's
that.
as simple as just putting it down to heat energy or light energy, though. There's definitely a few sets of energy
Belief.
we don't understand.
And this is where we bring it back to what you were saying. Belief is what makes it actually work. The energy is just that's just something that you can feel. There's something that you know that you can experience. And you're like, oh, shit, it fucking works. But the belief that this item that you've just charged with this energy, with this magic word of power, is actually going to do what you want it to do. I always say the same. Whenever people ask me about magic, chaos magic, left-hand path, whatever it is, I always give somebody a ritual and I say, try it. You don't have to tell anyone. You can do it by yourself.
No, definitely try
Do it.
Why
You've
not?
got nothing to lose.
You've got no argument against it.
And even, you don't have to tell. The only time someone's going to take the piss out of you for doing it is if you tell them you've done it.
Yeah. But
you don't even have to come back to me and say, I've done it. I'll probably say 7 times out of 10, people come back to me and say, I did that.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I really
But then
enjoyed it.
on top of that as well, you've kind of got to go to yourself, well, if I put that much energy into thinking about doing something and then I do it, because I've put the energy in, the success rate is higher, right? I'm more likely to succeed just from thinking about it. Even if you completely void all of the stuff we don't understand and you look at the bog standard basics, if I did something and then it had positive results, I'm more likely to do it again because positive results.
That's it.
Hence
exactly.
habit, hence
and
repetition.
This is where we bring it back to what you were saying. Because how does...
Cyborgs. No, that was a while ago. Sorry.
Yeah, magic cyborgs.
Oh shit, that's cool.
How does superstition and belief and things like that, how does that help us to strive and help us to continue?
Well, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? You've got a lot of...
Because it all comes into evolution.
But in the same
way... Which was our first episode.
If you've got... Yeah, it definitely does. But if you've got the power to make something happen, and you believe that power will make something happen, it's just as likely at some point down the road you would want something bad to happen, or you start doing things for negative results on other people, kind of thing, so on and so forth. At that point, you're still doing it, but you've lost the point. You've kind of lost your way a bit. You know what I mean? When you start practicing things for... Well, everyone knows power corrupts. Right? Absolute power corrupts anything. I couldn't comprehend absolute power.
Yeah.
I would definitely.
And we are seeing that big time at the moment.
Oh, for sure. But that's just madness incarnate. We won't go into the House of Cards. You nut jobs. But you can't have that much power unequally distributed in such a way for that amount of time and not see a negative from it as well as a positive.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think you've ever seen any kind of negative result of anything like that, whether it be in you or other people, stories you've heard or anything like that? Is it possible, or is the belief such a fundamental component that it's almost like purity?
It's definitely possible to have a negative reaction with magic.
No, that's
definitely, especially even with the type of magic that I practice, 100%. Because if you do a certain ritual to gain a certain thing and you don't gain that thing,
you feel worse than when you started. Before you did said ritual.
Personally, I don't, because if you're doing a ritual to gain a specific thing, part of that ritual is to forget it, to leave it be. But if you don't do that, and it doesn't happen, you're going to be like, well, I did something wrong then. If you have that much belief, well, I did something, I booked it up, that's why it's not happening, that's why I haven't got this money, that's why and I've not met this person, and that's...
Would you say it evolves into a bit of self-deprecation at points?
Yes, definitely.
No, I'd agree with that. It's the same as if you develop like a bad habit. Say for example, every time you get paid, you do what I do, and you go spunk it on an evening straight away. You're like, oh, I got paid £500. Let's all go and do stupid, spending £400, and I'm like, oh. Shit, yeah, that's right. This is supposed to last a month. Those bad sort of habits, they're a bit more every day, but they're still kind of the same thing, right? I'm trying to channel all my joy of getting paid as well as my fulfillment from working hard, and I'm trying to make that into something that's almost infectious, like a bit weird, really, actually, kind of thinking about it. Magic in you. Magic in you. Money's not magical. Get out of your head.
Yeah. No,
the whole experience, in a way, has become kind of more valuable than the cost. Does that make sense? So you still do it anyway?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's why somebody that I know, like, pretty much once a week will spend like 30 to 40 quid on Greggs.
Oh, that sounds a bit weird, I used to love the tikka rolls and the custard donuts.
They deliver now.
Sorry, what?
Greggs deliver through Just Eat. Not an advert. We're not sponsored by Greggs or Just Eat.
We're not. But when was this?
Yeah, that's why he does it. Because he spends 30 quid and he has it delivered.
But then, if that's like each individual person has to kind of justify what they do, don't they?
When you think that most of the things in there cost a quid.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's why it's once a week, because it lasts all bloody week.
That's it. But yeah, so if we bring this back, so the example that you used with step on a crack, break your mother's back, and you specifically, this is the thing though. That sounded amazing. That was me hitting the spring on my mic stand. I am so going to sample that for a song. That's right. So yeah. So for the example that you used to step on a crack, break your mother's back, and you said that you're going to do that every single time.
Yeah, if I genuinely believe it.
Yeah, if you genuinely believe that, you can do that every time, and then all of a sudden you step on a crack by accident, but then nothing happens. So you think, oh fuck it, I can step on as many cracks as I want.
Mm-hmm. The consequence.
So. An old superstition, an old belief, for example, was where if you cough, or let's not say cough actually, with everything that's going on at the fucking moment. If you sneeze, if you sneeze and you don't cover your mouth, no, in fact, if you sneeze,
wasn't there supposed to be a thing about exorcising demons?
That's it. This is what I'm getting at. If you sneeze and you you don't cover your mouth, then a demon will be able to get into your mouth and control you.
And equally, someone else's demon could get in.
And then when all of a sudden somebody sneezed but they didn't cover the mouth, and wait, I'm not been possessed by a demon. So that belief and that superstition has gone as time goes on. Same as another quick one, which I only found out the other day, and I think this is fucking great. So Bridesmaids. The original, not the movie, but the original point of a bridesmaid was they were there to wear a similar dress to the bride, so that a demon would kidnap the wrong person, so the bride would still get married. Right? That is the point of a bridesmaid. That is why bridesmaids. I shouldn't have said that while you were taking a drink.
It's not even that. It was more so just a tangent from talking about something completely every day.
But I'm getting it. Bam! I'm getting there. I'm doing a U.
I thought you were there already.
I'm getting there. So that's why bridesmaids exist. That's why bridesmaids' dresses look similar to the bride's dress.
That's mad.
Okay. And that was the belief. That was actually the belief. That was actually the superstition. But then all of a sudden, one woman must have said, "You know what? I'm wearing a white puffy dress. I want you to wear a purple slinky dress." But what about the demons? We'll see what happens. And then nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, that changed. So the superstition, as we went on and we carried on through our existence, that superstition disappeared. And I can see that smirk on your fucking face as you just realise that I've got to where you're at.
Yeah.
It's evolution. Our superstitions evolve with us.
I mean, conditioning is part of evolution, isn't it? If you associate two actions, like say for example, every time I go outside, I cross the road and my neighbour says hi to me. Every time he's outside, because he's always outside at whatever time I leave. It's just that is going to then be reinforced, right? And over time, reinforcing the same thing and the same bit is going to take away my conscious effort, and it's going to become an unconscious.
See, this episode is so much nicer and fluffier than the last one.
Oh, they're all lovely. Dimensions was a mindfuck. How's your mind? So you're alive, guys.
And also, so the superstitions evolve with us, but also superstitions make us fucking hell, they make us innovate.
Yeah, they make you change your behaviours.
Trepanning.
They make you try and find ways around things.
Trepanning were so somebody went to a doctor or a medical person or whatever with a headache. Oh, that's because you've got a spirit stuck in your head, so I'm going to drill this hole into your skull to release the spirit.
Oh no, you've got demonic blood. We're going to give you leeches.
And then and then all of a sudden somebody's like, okay, so you've drilled that hole in my skull, but I've still got a headache. All right, we need to do another one. So I've got 3 holes in my fucking skull, but I've still got a headache.
Well, I mean, are you really going to be telling them you've got a headache with 3
holes
in your skull? Yeah. I haven't been saying much.
Eat this mouldy bread. And then all of a sudden, well, what is about the mouldy bread that makes the headache go away? And then some dude centuries later leaves a window open in the lab. And penicillin's made. And so our superstitions make us create technology that will evolve with us.
Yeah. Well, we
so
were
it
talking
all
back about science fiction being like an inspiration, but it's actually anything you can think of that isn't already real. Could be real. Think about Hogwarts, right? Hogwarts isn't real. It's not right. It is a real place, but it's not a real school. You can't go and learn magic like a wizard and be taught all wonderful things.
Because that's not what magic is.
But because that movie existed, the idea of schools being a bit more like that, a bit more adventurous and mystical and things like that is viable. It's logical now. You get a bit more of a, well actually, maybe we could do something. Maybe they don't teach them actual magic, but maybe they teach them things like herbology or dragon etymology, whatever, dragon biology, whatever it would be. I don't know. My brain's, we're concepting. We're making up the things in the brain. Until those things are thought of as being maybe possible, they're completely impossible. Because no one's ever thought of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's back to perception again, isn't it? Everything is real, everything is not.
But then that's going to our invocation thing. If you perceive something in your like, say for example, every time I go out and get pissed, right, I get laid. Every time. Is that because I get pissed? Is that because I go somewhere? Or it doesn't matter, it's what I believe it is. I believe I'm a better guy when I get pissed, and them girls want me all over. No, they don't. I was just in a situation that worked in my favour repeatedly. I tried things that worked repeatedly, and eventually it all kind of plays out. Yeah.
Well, so I suppose the summary of this episode, if I am summarising it, is basically that superstitions are important.
I mean, you can't not have them. I mean, you're going to end up having them in some way.
Yeah.
A misplaced, kind of misguided way, so why not use it to your advantage?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's not just important individual, but they're important to the race to carry on. This is where it comes in. Like I said, this is where it comes into what we're talking about in the first episode. And the second episode.
Yeah, it's got a lot
and the third episode.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about the formation of habits and how we as creatures bond and evolve and all of that, innovate, all of it adds up. It doesn't really happen without that sense of shared experience, right? We have to feel like we understand each other. We have to feel like on a fundamental level there's a shared sort of universe, a shared set of beliefs. You know what I mean? My reality and your reality might be different, but they don't oppose each other. They're not clashing. My ideals and your ideals work. They're fine. They're cool. So we can have a society where we don't kill people. We can have a society where we don't go doing weird shit or doing strange stuff just for the sake of it. But equally, without that, you've just got that kind of future utopia species that was in a few episodes ago, where everyone's just like a yes, no, objectively complete, do, must do, no do. It all becomes,
which is what my idea of what the future's going to be.
To an extent, I agree.
Not necessarily a good or bad thing, but that's what I think. That's what I think the future's going towards.
No, to some extent, it's just a case of how far down the line that is.
Yeah, but it's because I mean, eliminating superstition, because some superstitions.
They have good merits, good lessons.
Yeah, of course they do, yeah. So, for example, this is something that I only read this the other day as well. This chaos magic word. I only read this the other day, but the whole idea of putting your hand over your mouth when you yawn was also to stop demons from going into your mouth.
They like the mouth, then.
This, yeah, they like the mouth, any orifice. But this came from. At the time, it wasn't the plague, but there was a plague. I think it was Germanic folklore.
So they would have seen.
I think it was Germanic. So the idea is that it was to stop this plague from coming in, but because they couldn't understand what a plague was, they was like, no, it's evil spirits in it, it's demons.
That's that famous comparative. What is it? I can't remember who the quote was. I'm a terrible person, but it's magic is indistinguishable from advanced technology or something. Something if we don't understand it, it doesn't necessarily. We just classify it as magic. But when we do understand it, it's
science. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's quite interesting. I mean, behavioural science is a thing, isn't it? So
yeah, 100%.
Conditioning is a thing. Repeating actions, forging good habits and things. That's totally a thing we all agree on, whether you agree on it or not, because you do. You just lying for the sake of lying. But using those to our advantage is a bit trickier, and it becomes a bit more obscure, a bit more.
Well, this is
personal.
This is a thing where, because I mean, I have been doing the sort of magical side of things for a long time. A lot of it, I knew what I was doing, but I used to hide the fact that I was doing it. I didn't tell anyone because of how people would.
Yeah, because there's a perceived attachment to it, isn't it? A stigma.
Yeah, exactly. It's oh my god, you fucking believe in this. It's like, but now it's like just don't care what people think anymore.
Well, to an extent.
Yeah.
If someone's got reason to think I'm a bad stupid, then they can explain their point and I'll listen. But if it ain't good, I'm going that way. I'm off. I'll see you later. Good discussion.
That's it. But yeah, so and yeah, with the idea of sort of Invocations.
Yeah, I do love it.
So it's making something a reality that isn't a reality at the beginning. So it's, for example,
shaping your reality.
Once again, my glass is empty. I don't want it to be empty. So when we've finished recording this, I'm going to go and fill it again. That's an invocation.
It is. You're invoking the desire.
But that's an invocation to you, because an invocation to me would be a ritual.
Well, no, because you feel desire. So you then have to go, why do I desire this thing? Do I really want this thing? All those checks you have to pass in your brain for that desire to be validated. And then you're like, oh, I can fulfill this desire, and I have no reason not to, so I should.
Yeah.
That logical. It's that straightforward. The same is true with the whole...
This is so different to the last episode.
Yeah.
Because the last episode...
It's because we're talking...
left me wanting to have a nap.
A nap? It's boring.
No.
Oh, yeah, my head as well. But I thought that was just a ridiculous amount of coffee I drank. And the fact that I was trying to tackle a few different things. It's still good, listen to it. In whatever
if you haven't listened to it, still listen.
I'm a normal person explaining complicated things. And I think we're doing alright.
Yeah.
yeah, having habits and things like that, having the ability to invoke emotion, like you were saying about that picture in a previous episode, you don't just imagine being there or anything like that, you imagine how you felt at the time.
Yeah.
You imagined all the factors at play in your life at the time. It's like a snapshot of the you back then. So you can either use that to your advantage and go, right, I felt particularly good because of this reason or this reason or this reason, so I'm going to repeat those particular habits and make the rest of my life good, or I'm going to remember why they were bad and avoid those particular things, and then I'm still kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, using that particular picture as an example is actually quite apt to what you just said, because I have both good memories and bad memories attached to that picture. I'm never going to get rid of it because I fucking love that picture.
It's like a mixed bag, isn't it? If you don't have a mixed emotion,
yeah, because I have nice and good and happy and fantastic memories of the day, but the actual picture itself that on the canvas was a present to my wife, who is now my ex-wife. And when we split up and we divvied everything up, that was in the box she gave me. I was like, but that was a present for you. She goes, but I don't want it, it's got a picture of you on it. That sounds nastier than she said it.
I know what you mean.
Because
you smell, I don't like it.
We are on good terms, but she did say fuck off, and so I do have so there are mixed emotions with that specific picture.
Looking at the picture would invoke all of them, and then you would choose which one I want to, which ones you want to
depending on where I am at the time and the mood
what's
that I'm
relevant
in and what's
to
happening.
you now as opposed to back then that you might be able to learn from. Look at everything in history. We look back at everything everyone else has done and go, we should do that, we shouldn't do that, we should do that, we should do, because it seems so bloody obvious in hindsight, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
The results are pretty straightforward,
and that's
but when it's your own life, it's a bit more subjective.
Yeah, but as a species, these beliefs and these superstitions, I mean, we must be the only species that have them.
We believe the sun's going to come up in the morning. We believe that the sun's going to go down at night.
Yeah.
We believe that
unless you're in certain parts of Alaska.
It's still going to come up at some point.
Yes, months ahead.
You'll have a decent idea of when. You might even have a party.
Yeah.
But that would be even more so of an invocation, because when it did happen, you wouldn't just feel like everyone else does when the sun comes up. You'd be full of emotion. It would be a rarer thing, so it would have more of an impact in a way. I'm imagining, I'm assuming, if I didn't have sunlight for 6 months of a year and then all of a sudden I see sunlight, I'm not going to be sitting there going, oh look, it's sunny, I'm going to be out there. And that's completely what I wouldn't do, kind of thing, I'm a fat guy with very little interest in the outside world, so to say that and then be like, no, I would be out there, I know that. It's, it just carries more weight then, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But so this episode sort of brought everything together.
Kinda. It was a design choice.
We've still got one episode left.
Well, yeah, the last episode. Conditions
of this season.
Well, for now, until I can find some more things to talk about. And trust me, I'll find things. It's just whether or not anyone wants to listen.
That's it. So I guess we will see you all next week with the final episode.
Conditions.
Space
plane.